So, just real quickly, take a minute. When I hear the term rich, wealthy woman, I think of, so take about a minute just to write down words, unfiltered.
Yeah.
Don't
brain
judge
dump.
yourself.
It's brain dump.
Whatever comes up for you. When I hear the term rich, wealthy woman, I think of. And again, notice if you noticed any differences in the reactions that you had emotionally, the thoughts, physically, seeing kind of like the same sort of out there in your face about it, but was there differences between, you know, seeing a white woman and seeing, you know, women of color talking about it, seeing a man sort of being very in your face about it, and sort of we're bombarded by images like this all the time, right? And so when I think somebody mentioned something about how do we even define this, right? Like, how do we define it? Because these are the messages that I'm getting from my family, from the people in my life. These are the images that are bombarded everywhere. How am I, or maybe I'm not, or maybe I'm not aware how I'm internalizing maybe some of this. Okay. So, were any of you surprised by your reactions? Maybe have a couple of you share what you noticed. Yes.
So when you first said to write down stuff about a wealthy woman, which I work with women about this a lot, so I was like, oh, I got this, but I still, like, I kept picturing something, so I was kind of writing down the lifestyle, but I kept picturing like a blonde white woman. And I didn't want to write that down. I kept writing down, oh, she's pampered, she plays tennis. But you literally see the blonde white woman in your head. And so that I was surprised that that's what came to me.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, it's so interesting because I know for myself, coming from poverty, I don't necessarily have modeling in my day-to-day life of what a powerful woman who's wealthy and healthy, you know, has healthy sexuality or sexual expression. I don't necessarily have that. And so if what's also out there, right, the images that we are bombarded by, we don't fully relate to that either, how does that impact us? Anyone else want to share? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I saw a blonde white woman too. Trying to make fence in River Oaks with a wealthy husband, and she's a snob, and she doesn't like she's in her cold and empty house, and no love, and just all materialistic and narcissistic. How's that for husband?
How is that, right? Who wants to sign up to live that life, right?
Yeah.
Or how many of us think that we could even access that?
Yes. Lana?
Something that kept coming up for me in people's videos is the rich woman, the wealthy, how it was all self-made woman. She got her herself. She showed them, but like she didn't take nothing from nobody. She got like those congresswomen, they went for it, they got there themselves. Like it's still that from like you have to get there yourself.
By yourself.
You don't ask for help. Like they made themselves.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I hesitate to, I talk about these things, so I nibble women and like Smart Women, Smart Retirement seminars, and actually at the same time Susie Orman's book came out, the book Smart Women, Smart Retirement, which is still the best-selling book in history for women in finance, and you should all read it.
Oh, good to know.
But that's a resource.
Smart Women Finish Rich. I
Smart
helped
Women.
create the national seminar that went with it.
I have that
Anyway,
book.
they both got it wrong, in my opinion. Sorry, this is a little my soapbox, and I can't stand Susie Orman.
So your reaction was strong.
So like, yeah, like I couldn't even get into the second one. So Cardi B was a little in your face for my style, but at least she owned that shit. Like Susie Orman is so full of crap, I can't even stand it when I hear that. Like, oh, here's the problem. Here's what they need to be. Well, how about giving them a solution?
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm a financial advisor. That's what I do. Coach
Absolutely.
And this is what I talk about in my retirement seminars, believe it or not, is empowering people not to pay attention to these
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah.
So I found myself like really having a hard time like figuring out how I feel about it because I'm always, again, this is what we discovered this week. I'm trying to help everybody else get what I want, and I got to focus on like my crap and
Yeah.
how I get what I want. Like,
April,
so I get very passionate about this.
That's
so
awesome.
That's
That's
why
I know.
I wanted other people to talk
Can,
first.
can you tell me what would you call that, the emotions that were coming up?
I mean, I get angry.
Angry.
Because,
What's the anger?
it's just like, I want people to be free and authentic, and everything we see in popular culture is the opposite. Like, here's how you should look, here's how you should be. And, if it's the white woman in River Oaks, or if it's someone having to be half naked talking about money, neither appeals to me. I don't like either idea,
Right.
right? And it's because it's not me. So,
Yeah.
with Susie Orman, it was a negative message. How about having a positive, empowering message? Like, hey, we women put everyone else before us. That's why sometimes our finances aren't in order. Let's realize that when we put ourselves first, then we can get our finances in order. Then we can take care of everyone else.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as women, that's what we want to do. At least, and that could be a bias on my part.
No,
But
actually, that's what the
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
the
Right.
research has shown that women, well, we'll get into that,
Yeah.
but anyway.
But I think what you're highlighting.
Research has shown women make better financial
Yes.
decisions
Right.
than
Yes.
men because they tie it to their values.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
And then, like, a lot of ego comes into
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
But even when you tell women that, women's seminars were a failure because all these women signed up. It was super popular. They do not follow through and come in for the meetings, and they don't do what you're coaching them to do.
Well, and I think that's what.
And I hate to say that, but it's true because
What I
they
think.
get busy with life and putting everyone in front of themselves. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
How do we solve this problem, and then we can fix the rest?
Well, and I think that you're making a really great point. Two of them. One is I can't relate to either of those, right? So how do I define this, right? And there is a lot of information
Yeah.
out there on
Yeah.
the how-to. You probably have some of these books. You've probably attended
Yeah.
some of these workshops. You have the information. So if it's not a lack of information, then what is it? Right? What is it? And so that's part of what we're trying to unearth today is it's those beliefs that we may not even be aware of. Because if what I think of is a rich white woman, right? When I think of wealth, right? And I can't relate to it, or it's a rich, wealthy woman who's cold. She doesn't even have love, right? She's isolated, she's secluded.
In her big old cold house.
Right. Well, that's not something relatable. But if you see, a lot of us, I think, carry these same sort of like immediate reactions. The part of us that says, well, that's not practical. That's not, right? Like, that's not the part that's usually making decisions. That's not the part that needs the healing, right? The part that needs the healing is the part that we don't even realize, well, if I think it's a rich white woman and I'm not, and I'm never going to be white, then how would I ever sort of reconcile that within my system that I could do that I could be that? And where did I get those messages? Who was it where did that message come from that in order to have this, you got to give up this, you got to give up that, and you have to be this? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
That's the part that disempowers us, right? We're often disempowered not because there's a lack of information, right? Because especially nowadays, but there's something much more deep and what's the covert.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm glad to hear you say that because that one thing that surprised me was Susie Orman video made me feel like shit because I was like, I don't have an IRA. Like, I'm 35. I'm a terrible and I'm like, I'm a failure.
What do we do?
In that respect. And then to go to the power one where all the women were like, well, don't care what people say about you, but I'm like, I don't have thick skin.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Exactly. And these are the messages that we get as women. Okay. Well, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
What you were saying and basically what you said, like I was fighting that people on white women. I was fighting
Yeah.
that white woman type thing because that's the image that was my paradigm. But with that, my company that I started is a mortgage company, and that's what I talk about is wealth empowerment within the Black community specifically. And so I didn't want to write it down. And I was like, if I write it down, I'm going to make it real, right? And so my thought is the same thing of
Yeah.
Yes.
then I'm not going to be able to
Yeah.
attain that
Absolutely.
that I want because that's the image that
Yeah.
that's the spell that I'm casting over my life.
Yes.
And so very much just was like, I really want to write that down. And then one of the things that I've been really dealing with is figuring all this stuff out, and it came from the first one with Sue or Men with Cardi B was just all women want security for their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I made it into my head, like, it's a white woman thing, it's a black woman thing, no, all women want security for their families.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's been a certain level of privilege that has allowed wealth to be accumulated in other families. Ultimately, I need to reconcile that with myself. At the end of the day, all women just want security for their families.
Yes.
And that's kind of why we break out sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it. Okay, so we're gonna dive in because, oh my goodness, we have so much that we're
Yeah.
gonna.
So
we're
I
just
want to
gonna
make a
zoom through.
quick announcement because I think that we need to stay engaged because these things are coming up that may not all be answered in how quick we're going. Are you okay with staying later?
Yeah, she said she said 1:30. We're here till
Okay.
as far as she's here. But
Okay.
we'll be here afterwards also if you need to come up to us, like I said. And I'll, one
Yeah.
of us will always be to the side if you need to pull one of us to the side.
And let Nicole and Jonathan know we can email you the presentation so that you have it. This is really good conversation and we don't talk about this
Enough.
enough. Okay, so we're now going to talk about money and being in alignment with what you've already learned, how you picture a rich woman or a woman with money. If you can listen to the words. Okay. Men grow cold as girls grow old. Keep that in mind. You may get fired from your job as a secretary, so you need to have diamonds. Because if the stock market goes down, he's going to go back to his wife. That was 50s, I think, before women could even get credit on their own. Okay, slightly different, slightly updated, at least. Think about the Marilyn Monroe one and then this one. There is a difference. The line in there that one of the biggest differences is she says, experience has made me rich, now they're after me. And valuing your worth based on experience in life, which all the ageism we have here, especially with women, and the way they are judged on their outward appearance, which does, yes, I like to keep up with my injections, but, it goes. And my internal life, my experiences in life, my qualifications, what I've accomplished, whether it's raising a child or maneuvering in the corporate world, whatever it is, isn't valued when the looks go.
Right. So true.
That's another message. No man in there except for the hype man. Makes her own money, grills her own barbecue and lingerie, walks an ostrich around, that's her pet.
I think it was a peacock too, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. She gets paid for that. Yes. So here's a way of monetizing.
And here's how you can be relatable.
And here's, yeah, exactly.
I eat Jersey Mike's too.
Yeah.
Don't grill in the lingerie, no.
Yeah. If I looked like that, I would be grilling in
I would
the
be
lingerie.
grilling. I would be
in my front driveway.
I'd be at Walgreens. All right.
All right, so here we get to maybe a different generation of ownership. She says right before this, all of my people, I free them all. And that is one of the most significant differences in the way women deal with wealth and the way men do, which may be what you were talking about, April. we want to make a difference. We want to, if we are marginalized, not just for being female, but being females of color, we want to help all our people. And I think owning your power, which money is power, owning your power and using it to change the world is what women resonate with. It's not my name on a building or on a hotel or president, well, you know what I mean. But we want to make a difference. We want to take care of our families, our loved ones, our people, our tribe. That's wealthy women.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's part of how we can begin to rewire those messages that keep us disconnected from, I don't want to be a cold, distant, loveless, you know, person that's just not relatable, right? And so that they're in owning our power, in being okay with pursuing financial abundance and independence, that's what gives us more access to be able to do, which is what so many of us women just naturally do, and that is care for others. But we forget that sometimes.
Yeah. I love this. Candace Bushnell is the woman who wrote the book that Sex and the City was based on. And yes, that was also a certain kind of limiting viewpoint, but at least it was something. Did anyone ever see that show, Girlfriends? That also showed another aspect which I liked. But yes, women with money and women in power, very, very uncomfortable ideas in society. Not just by men, because they're having to share their power, but for women, because when we are the other or the marginalized, it's like crabs trying to crawl out of the bucket. We're all crabs in the bucket, and I need to get up, and I don't have anything to help you up with.
Right.
But that's not our philosophy.
That's
not
scarcity
what works.
mindset.
Yeah, that's the scarcity mindset that there's not enough. If I don't get out, I'm gonna die.
Right. And that there, and you know, the reality is, the way we see it, there's limited slots we see, right? There's limited slots, and we're like, well, we don't want her to have it, because if she has it, then I can't have it. And so, versus the abundance mindset is, as I access more, I can create more opportunity. That's the feminine, right? Like, that's the feminine energy, creation, the creativity, birthing, right? Birthing ideas, birthing opportunities.
Collaboration. I want to talk about where, so the part of the brain, the amygdala in our reptilian brain, is our fight, flight, and freeze. Anything that we perceive as dangerous, not safe, we're going to be shunned, isolated. Now remember, it wasn't that long ago that women who were different or spoke up were killed.
Right.
Right?
Look
They're
how
burned.
recent the marathon, the woman running the marathon.
Yeah.
There was a TV filming it, right?
So, April, when you said that you have 15 employees, great. That's 15 people whose lives are improved with your power, right? So that's what we mean about using the feminine, the divine feminine of sharing, nurturing, creating opportunities for self and others and your tribe.
Right.
That's what it's
And
about.
divine meaning you came into the world with that.
Yes.
Right? Like you were just, it's just part of you.
But we have the inherited memory of being killed when we're isolated because we weren't strong like men in that way. We were only strong in groups, in community. And that's why community and a community of like-minded women is so important. So we don't tear each other down,
Right.
trying to get you not to get out of the bucket. Okay, so instead of writing this, just throw out some things. Describe your ideal version of a powerful, wealthy woman.
Just Oprah.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? We come from the same line. It is that thing of women, because men were the prizes to get, and so you had to be a certain way and hide. I mean, it's a culture of secrets and denial and never being your authentic self if your self is not in this box of what it's supposed to be. It's an acceptance, it's a recognition that you have the right for power and accepting that and then using it. And the internet is a beautiful expression of the divine feminine. It's collaborative, it's open, it's authentic. I mean,
It's filtered too, but.
I mean, yeah.
All right, so.
Okay, so a couple of questions. I'll try to go through these real quick. Growing up, what were the conversations you heard about money, if at all? Hustle? Got to work hard, right? Work hard. What else? So there's so many things that we're learning. It's not just the family, but it's the culture, the country, the religion, the conversations that we don't even know we're listening to.
And that are embedded in us.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't even notice or know how they impact our decision making.
One thing, the difference between Beyonce and Cardi B, in the way I'm thinking of inherited memory, inherited trauma, and intergenerational trauma is when you come from, and I think Michelle Obama sums this up beautifully in her towards the end of her book, when you have the historical genetic memory of being enslaved, there is a harder fight that you have to overcome. Mm-hmm. So when Barack Obama wrote The Audacity of Hope, the African side of him was not African American. Right. It was African. Yeah. He didn't have the same, now, the way he is, he was able to come and relate because he was still treated like African American. But keep that in mind based on your own. That's why we've got to know our own culture, history, line, everything.
Our ancestors and how it ended.
So what I want to speak to is the research on trauma. Mm-hmm. And when we've been traumatized, disempowered, all of that, different parts of us, in an effort to be powerful, will pick what is available at the time. And you're going to get more into sexual trauma and some of that, but as long as it's a choice, that's very different than being sexually abused, than not having your boundaries respected. So it's in the thing of choice. Are you freely?
Well, statistics from what I've read show that like women who work in the sex trade industry, 70 to 90% of them were sexually abused as children. So,
Yes.
you know, to me, I just don't quite get how that shows women in power when you're like rubbing up against the pole.
It's unhealed trauma, but you'll talk more about that.
Yeah, well, because yes, there's so much to this.
Yeah.
I feel like we need like a retreat.
I know, I know.
We need a retreat, right? And so some of this, again, it is going to be triggering. It's going to bring up more conversation. And it is, again, so how does that impact then how we view women who maybe, for them, they're not apologetic. They're not traumatized, right? Or the idea that a woman who is sexual, she's powerful, she's wealthy, there must be something wrong if she's that out about it. There must have been something, some wound in order for her to get there. Maybe, maybe not. But I think that's something just for us to consider. Yeah. But we have so much to get to.
I know. Okay. I like asking what would the male role model, I use the word father, but it can be the male in your family.
What did the men say, yeah.
What did you hear him say? What messages did you get about what how women and money are concerned?
Right.
Do they need to marry rich? That's the only way? Or she must be a hoe? I don't know.
Bitch.
Yeah.
She's a bitch, right?
Or she's cold. Yeah.
Or she's not the marrying type.
She's getting diamonds. with her.
She can't possibly be getting that
Yeah.
on her own, accord.
Same. What would the female head of household, woman in the family, say about women and money?
And I say, again, just internally, what have you said in the past, or what do you say when you see a woman that looks like money? Because sometimes people look like money, but they don't have any.
Yeah.
Right? But how do we judge them? What are our initial reactions?
And what would they, each of them, male and female, say about you being a rich, powerful woman? Would they accept you?
How would that fit into your family, into your lineage?
And then what if your daughters? What would you say to them? If you are rich, powerful, and successful, what are you worried about? If I am this, I worry that what? So these are questions to answer. Start asking today. There's no right or wrong. It just is.
You might be surprised.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why are we worried about having money? Right? But there's often something that is holding us back. Right? If we want it, and it's not a lack of information, right? What is it that we're protecting ourselves from, that part of us that is protecting us?
Money problems are a distraction. They're a distraction from unhealed feelings, unprocessed. My biggest fear about having a lot of money is, what's my biggest fear about being successful? I'm not going to have a life. I have to work 24/7, means I can't have kids. What is it?
I have to sacrifice.
I have to sacrifice.
A personal life.
Yeah.
I can't have love. I can't have a partner.
Yeah.
Who's going to want me like that? I'll have to dim it down.
Yeah.
Or maybe like you don't care. Right? Like maybe it's like I'm not worried about that aspect.
When you were a kid, did you get punished for anything relating to money? Asking for it, spending it, not saving? Did you have to get a job, or what do you believe today about money?
Even right now in this moment.
Yeah. A couple of answers anyone want to throw out? To work hard.
Which I will say, that is the opposite of the feminine energy that we're talking about. So the working hard, that is the masculine.
The
Again,
doing.
it has nothing to do with gender. It's the push, the do, the do. And I love how one of my mentors, she described it so beautifully, because she was talking about how, you also have to be in that feminine, I look for mentors that talk like this. So, being in the feminine, and I was like, I know, I get it. I know I have to do that, but how? And why?
Yeah.
Like, tell me again the why? Yeah, and because okay, take a break, create the downtime. Okay, but remind me again the why,
Yeah.
like how does it, engineer-wise?
Yeah.
And she said, because when you're taking the step back, right, like you've done, you take the step back, you're creating the container, right? Like that's the space energetically that creates for you to now receive, which is what that requires us is vulnerability, right? Like that's the thing that if you have experienced situations out of your control, you don't want to be vulnerable, right? You don't want to be vulnerable. It's dangerous to be vulnerable, but that vulnerable, the stepping back, that's the feminine energy that creates the space that's like a vacuum, right? For those things that you've been working so hard to come in, and for you to receive support and love and all of that. Vulnerability. And if you think again, feminine energy, if you think of what a woman's body goes through when she is going to have a baby, right? So there's the creation, and then there's a process of waiting, right?
Yep.
Like so many times in our lives we're in that, gestation.
Yeah,
Thank you. Gestation stage. And even, I've got 3 of them, so it's like, come on, when's it gonna get here? Like you get, but you trust, even though when you're like in that 9th month, you're like, they're never gonna get here, but they get here.
You deserve to keep speaking your truth, whether or not they receive it.
That's the
It's
healing
not
part.
being a bitch. That's how
Right.
we label ourselves and like, oh, okay, now I have to be confrontational. No, you don't. Your inner power channel, your core, very strong when we're connected to Divine Mother, which is the earth. We are able to there are some ways you can say, no, I'm not available. It's not in any sort of undercurrent of apology or you better not cross, I know you're going to give me shit for it, but, no.
That's the unconscious.
I don't work on Fridays around people.
I wanted to just check in again because we're already at 12:51.
Okay.
Who has to go? Does anybody have to go right now? Because we want to make sure that you get all the information. So probably the best thing maybe is if we wait maybe till the end of the thing to get maybe some more of the questions, because we just want to make sure you get all of the information.
So part of a block is misinformation in the sense that, yes, now we have the internet, we can look stuff up. It's also knowing what's right and what isn't, and what's right for you.
Right.
And so we need to see professionals, women professionals that understand how we are with money. There's also shame, right? You were talking about that. There can be shame when you run out of money. You lost all your money. Your family lost all your money. Or it's shame to want money because it's a sin, right? Money's not evil. Greed, different. Money itself, it just is. It's neutral. How we use it is what we control. That defines if it's good, bad, whatever. Money itself is neutral, like a gun. But the people that use money and how they use money, how are we going to use money? Fear. This is probably the biggest one, and it's the underlying feeling with scarcity mentality. There's never enough. I'm going to run out. I have to work super hard, or I'm going to end up broke. Oh no. There's a lot of oh no's that happens with fear. Fear is the ego. It is the part of us that needs to protect us so we can survive. It's ancient, and we developed it so we could survive as a species. Like Eliza said earlier, the mind hasn't evolved as much as society has. The physical brain hasn't evolved as much. And so it's okay to have fear, but know it. Know what it feels like in your body. Know when you're holding your breath or you feel constricted or stressed or small. Those are all signs of being in fear. There's a lot of negativity. We're always judging ourselves, only looking for the flaws. This is also about the past. It's bringing up every single thing from the past, whether it's your own, your family's, your culture, your society, whatever. So when we're not thinking in the here and now and all the possibilities that are available for us, we are in fear. We play small, we are defensive, we compare ourselves to J-Lo or whomever, All right, and so we need to know here, any questions real quick about fear? With fear, we aspire to mediocrity, yes. Yeah, sure.
Great question. So what do I mean by, sometimes I forget that I'm a psychotherapist and I talk like this all day. So vulnerability is when it's really what opens the door for authentic, intimate moments, experiences. And vulnerability is when me and Rabia being up here, we're being vulnerable, right? Because we're opening ourselves up to y'all, be like, that shit sucked, right? That could happen, you know? So that's vulnerability, when you're putting yourself out there and where you don't know what's going to happen, whether that be in business, in relationship, in school. Anytime you do something new, there's a vulnerability to that. And so I think because we are so disempowered, we don't know how to say no, and know that no is also very loving and kind. And we don't want to be a bitch, or okay, if I say no, I have to be a bitch, so I'm not gonna be vulnerable, right? Or again, if you have a history, we've been hurt, being vulnerable, especially when we were children, that could be a really scary thing.
Yeah.
So when I say the space, the container, that's when we step back. I'm not doing. I'm not taking care of everybody. I'm taking my Friday off, and people may be upset. Okay, right? That's the part that needs the healing, where I feel like I need to justify it. I feel like I'm doing, if I'm thinking I'm a bitch, and a bitch is a negative thing, right? That's the part of me that needs to heal. Like, no, I'm not being a bitch. I'm taking care of myself, and that's okay. So the vulnerability is, how many times does fear hold us back? Like, if I'm afraid to be vulnerable, I wouldn't be up here with y'all.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't be putting this out to see who's gonna come. Because we still have that, like, you know, you're gonna have a party, but who will come?
Yeah.
Right? And maybe there's just gonna be 2 people. But if I'm vulnerable and I'm in my authentic self, then 2 people, 10 people, 100, that's okay. I have enough within me to know I'm gonna still be okay, I'm still worthy. The container that I was talking about in the stepping back is, it's energetically the time that now whatever so the seeds that I planted, right? The container that we create, like when you're planting something, is you wait, right? My mentor said, you don't go back in there, dig up the seed and say, okay, are you sprouting? Are you know, you trust that the sun, the water, the soil is gonna do its thing. And so learning how we're blocked from our power of saying no, right, or doing, that's what then allows us to know when we can be vulnerable. So we can put ourselves out there, so we can open ourselves to opportunity and open ourselves to abundance.
How do we tell ourselves that, like, it's not a risk, it's like what?
It is a risk.
It is a risk.
It is a risk, and you learn how to manage the anxiety and the fear that comes up with the risk. It doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's not about not having fear. It's about being aware of what's happening and what's coming up, and oh yeah, this is this and this is that. Ego lies, fear lies, right? So I'm gonna die even when I'm not. It's knowing what's going on in your internal being, and if you have trauma, get healing for it.
Yeah.
Because vulnerability is gonna trigger the trauma, the fears around the trauma.
And we're all triggered. Like, she and I, before we started, we're back there, we're getting centered. We're like, okay, let's hyping each other up and get grounded. So it's just, but there may have been a time where that may have debilitated us, and we wouldn't have gone up there like, oh, hell no, I'm not gonna do that. And so it's like, okay, we've done enough of our own work, and our own heal is like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
I cuss a lot, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's my spiritual practice.
Finally, it was like, go big or go home.
Yes.
You know?
All right.
Okay, so in order to know how you want to create your life, you have to know what your values are. What do you value? Think about this. I know it's a deep question, but we've got to keep moving. A list of core values. Yes.
Did you know there were so many?
I know. And when you've gotten, like, check all the ones that apply, and then break it down to your top 5.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3.
I do this for single women looking for a partner. Like, okay, do a brain dump on what you want.
Yeah.
And then get down to the must-haves and know your deal breakers.
Because sometimes you might have a certain core values and your partner has different core values.
Yeah.
I value independence and they value, you know,
Being tied
being
to-
domestic.
Yeah.
All right.
Choose well. These are the questions that y'all can go home today and ask yourself and answer. Who am I? Who am I?
Independent of all my
Yes.
relationships.
Who am I?
And accomplishments,
Yeah.
that's good.
What do I really want? What do I really want? Goes back to looking at your values. Why don't I have what I want? What's in the way? What's stopping me? Our beliefs. Ours or put on us.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide. More deep questions, what's my purpose? And figuring out your purpose, that's a workshop all
Yeah.
on its own because there's a way to do it.
I always tell people that question at the beginning, like, what lights you up?
Yeah,
Like, what makes your heart expand?
yeah. What did I like doing when I was a kid and lose total track of time? That's, what's the antidote to fear? Love.
Love.
And to feel love, we have to heal.
And love ourselves. What
Yes.
does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right? If we love ourselves.
The best way a woman can limit her power, because remember, this is in the end about power, power over your life, knowing yourself, being aware of everything that contributes to who you are in the world, how you move through the world, what you've been through, where does it come from, that kind of stuff. But the biggest way we deny ourselves our own power is to mismanage our money. We don't go for it, or we're so afraid that it's not helping us vibrate, you know, but then worrying about how we're vibrating introduces fear. So it's tricky. It's tricky. But really, the real power is in becoming who we were born to be. And it is a journey to know who that is. Mindset of love, that's the soul. This is who you are. You outside of fear, when you're not in fear. Who are you? What is your soul? When you're relaxed, it's open, it's compassionate, you're not comparing yourself. You see everything in your life as a gift. Painful or not, you see it as a gift. Pain is information. That's where our true power is in love. And we're blessed that one of the things that has been culturally approved for women is to be loving, except loving to yourself.
Right. We just don't know how to
Love
do it.
everybody else, but not yourself. So it starts from inside. And it's not the love where it's like, okay, I'm going to get a facial every day.
Right.
It's not, I mean, that's great, but it's about what am I feeding into my brain, into my ears, into my spirit, in my body? Who am I surrounding myself
Yeah.
with? Am I dealing with my shit?
Is the life that I'm living, like, do the decisions that I make, career, relationship, what I put in my body, all of that,
Yeah.
is that expressing that I'm caring for this person? Like, if this was a person you had to care for, right, you're going to be aware, on top of tending to and anticipating their needs, right? Like, and setting limits, right? I think that's the thing that we forget, that boundaries and limits and saying no are very loving.
Very
That's why
loving.
when we have children and we're going to cross the street, we grab their hands, we set the limits, so you can't cross the street because you can get hurt. And so often we forget that limits and boundaries are also loving. So how often are we making decisions that are aligned with loving ourselves?
And if you don't, sorry, go ahead.
One thing I've been struggling with, the message that I've been receiving is that, like, I have to love myself, like, the most. Not always putting myself before everyone else. That's not what that means, but I have to love myself the most. But I struggle with that because that
Is that selfish?
It seems selfish. It sounds selfish.
Who are you hurting to love yourself the most?
I guess going into that scarcity mindset, you think like that love is limited, and so if you love yourself the most, then that means you don't have enough love to give to everyone.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
guess
That's beautiful, actually.
And
Yeah, there's not enough love to go around. What's the one thing we know? We can love a whole lot of people and still give to charity and strangers and all that kind of stuff.
And the idea that putting yourself first is selfish, again, go back,
Yeah.
right? Like, where did we get that message? And who benefits from us believing that take care of others first?
Yeah.
Somebody benefits from that. It's not us.
Yep.
And there was a time where that was pounded into the women in our lineage and the men, right? Because it didn't benefit them. So that's the undoing. That's the healing. If somewhere I believe that, that's my truth. It's selfish.
One of the things that I learned this year that was one of my 2019 focuses, I keep telling myself that you're the most important person in your life.
Yes.
And as a new mom, as a black woman, to the way that I was raised, it's always your children that are the most important.
Yeah.
You sacrifice for them, you go without for them. And it's my focus has been, no, that can't be, because I won't have anything to give them.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I'm the most important person in my life, and sometimes they're gonna have to sit and wait for me to kind of
Right.
regain, and then I can come back and give them everything.
And I think to add to that, if you have people that you care for in your life, whether you're a mother, whatever, it's our divine responsibility to care for the woman that's caring for all these people.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look at it. Yeah. Well, and if you don't take care of yourself, we're yelling at our kids, we're cursing them, we're hitting them, we're not very kind.
Yeah.
When we're not taking care of ourselves. So it's actually selfish to not take
Right.
care of yourself,
Right.
to not be self-loving. How do you distinguish? Again, it's in our bodies. The more awareness, the more still we can be to notice. And still doesn't mean you just sit there for 12 hours. Still can be 5 minutes, 1 minute of breathing and getting grounded. Notice what it feels like when you're afraid of money running out, not having a job, not getting whatever.
The first piece of healing is always becoming more
Yeah.
and more and more aware.
Yeah, this is from Toni Morrison. Want to fly, you got to give up the shit that weighs you down.
Amen.
So there were a couple of really good quotes around that, because letting go is the thing. One was from Abraham Lincoln. He said, if you want to help the poor, don't become one of them. And then Reverend Michael Beckwith, you can't be the light of the world if you can't pay your light bill. So there's a balance, right? There's a practical aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's a gift.
yeah.
You deserve to earn every penny and more. Again, money issues can be distraction from deeper, more painful issues. Women earn less. We also save less. And April, you can probably chime in. But we save less because we are spending on others.
Yeah.
Actually, statistically, women have to save more because of interruptions in their work.
Yes.
Because they make more because they're the caretaker.
Yeah. Yep.
And they live longer. 7 years on average.
Shit.
We're more cautious as investors, but they invest more. Men invest more, And so with the education, with trusting yourself, and with coming at it with love, even if it means no to the red bottoms, not that I have any.
I don't have red tops.
But I always say no to myself. That's why they hurt.
Good.
I love myself too much to have my feet hurt.
That's why I've
So
been
anyway,
sitting this
yeah,
whole time.
yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Here are some ways we can cultivate abundance. Again, I know I'm going very quickly. Wait till you get to the sex.
Yeah.
So again, we'll send you these slides. Letting go of old beliefs once you're aware. Getting educated. Oh,
The
I
practical.
should have underlined this. Taking disciplined action. Discipline is a huge part of self-love. If we can be disciplined about calories and exercise, why are we not disciplined with the daily practice of creating the energy of abundance, which comes from generating the energy of love and connection? So discipline, a daily practice. Read something about money every day. Meditate every day. Get clear on your intentions, on what your vision for yourself is every day. So that's one of the things is every day to be grateful and also to write down what you've received. So women have a tendency to not accept compliments, not accept credit for doing what they know they did, or minimizing what we've done, what we've accomplished. And so we apologize and reject it, but we're blocking our energy of receiving. The divine feminine receives. I did great, thank you, you know? And so there's a good practice not only to keep a gratitude journal, but also to keep a separate one for, this is what I received today. Practice, practice, practice. To access the soul, observe your feelings. Like I said, don't try to stifle the ego. Talk to it. What are you saying to me? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Not only therapists do that. I mean, we try to do that. But it does take a minute. And we have to be still. We can't be on the phone or on the computer or walking and texting. Meditation, psychotherapy to deal with pain and trauma, especially if it comes up around vulnerability. Energy healings are great. We exchange them now. You know, the divine feminine is in our sacral chakra, the second chakra, and a lot of our power and the ego are in the third chakra, the solar plexus. And so in using all of them, the fourth is the heart. So being loving and self-caring and disciplined, third chakra, solar plexus, it's not that all doing is bad. Disciplined action with the intention of benefiting you and your people. And of course, having a tribe, and I highly recommend getting a life coach if you are kind of searching for meaning, what your purpose is and all of that. And listen to the whispers. The soul whispers, the heart whispers, the ego screams and yells and is pissed because he's scared.
Yeah.
Oh, I called him a he.
You did.
I know, I caught that. Anyway, great way to send gratitude daily to money. What did it provide for you? In the way I believe, money comes from love, and love comes from the divine, from all of us. And so money is love. I'm not going to deny wanting it and going for it. Some daily affirmations. I love money and money loves me. I love that one. The bottom one I think is super important. I love money because I love myself. If you can wrap your mind around that, it's a big deal.
Awesome.
Brings up all kinds of shit, right?